All right, back again with the Bearded Bros Golf Show. I'm Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
All right, and Marcus in a different venue today. He's fancy live from his golf shop, the Wildcat
Barbershop
Golf Club.
Poppy.
So if you're ever in the Houston, Texas area, go pay him a
Come
visit.
see me.
Yeah.
Come see me.
Um, I don't know if anybody other than probably not even Brian Harman had Brian Harman on the open bingo card and winning this thing going away.
Right.
I mean, bro, this was about the most boring major we've had this year. It was, I mean, I know people
True.
were kind of like not even the open with Wyndham Clark winning pretty much, going away or just kind of holding it, down pretty much the entire way. I mean,
Yeah.
after round two, Brian Harmon had no less than a 5-stroke lead. I mean, it dropped down to four today, I believe, at some point. But
Yeah. That was it.
I, I mean, it was pretty dominating. What do you think about this dude? I will say early prediction: Brian Harmon will never win another major. I like the guy. Don't
Right.
get me wrong, but
Love
this
him.
is not something that he's going to be able to replicate or repeat. You look at. I think of another lefty. I think Mike Weir winning the Masters.
Yeah.
And yes, Brian Harmon has won in the past, but I think it's been about 5 or 6 years since his last win. What do you think, man? What do you think?
Same. I don't see it happening again. As lovable as Brian Harmon is, I just feel like he played very, very good golf, and I don't know if he'll ever play this good again. I mean, seriously, he messed up less than everybody. He made more birdies than everybody. He literally put all the stats together to go away with it. Like it was not even a question after the second round, like he said. I mean, first round, he shot just like a ho hum 64, 65, 65. I'm sorry, because he was like four
Yeah,
under. Then the next round is when he got to 10. And after he got to 10, nobody was even seeing him. Like a couple
no,
guys made a push. John Ron came out early Saturday, tried to make a push, still to no avail on Sunday. Because once you go crazy low like a 63, you can't put that together again. Everything was working. And so that's why you saw
yeah.
him. He shot a even par or one over or whatever, or one under, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean Rory tried to make a push, our guy, but nothing was
Rory,
happening.
man.
Nothing was
No,
happening
Rory would get some early birdies and then kind of flame
in
out.
the
So,
middle. Exactly in the middle, nothing's happening. We're doing nothing.
like
Mm,
he finished what 3 under today, and that was he
yeah,
went birdie
another
birdie
one.
birdie from like on the front nine, and so yeah, it was just kind of, bro, can you get it together and put 4 days together in a major? I told you that's why I was disappointed with him winning last week
Yeah,
and not really. I don't know, man. Just bottle up some of that momentum without, winning.
true.
Winning is tough, and I put this in the notes for today that you think about how Brian Harmon performed over 4 days, and that's
Right.
you look at the amateur, right? Let's start with that. The amateur guy, the 6'8" dude. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. Shout out to him. Tied for the lead after day one. I had
Yeah, all
no,
prep.
I had no illusions that was going to continue. Right.
Right.
It's just saying hard. Like Sam Bennett in the Masters was an anomaly to be able to hang in there in the top 10 over 4 days, but to put
Agreed.
4 days of good golf together, that's pretty GD hard. Let's just be honest, man. Not most
Truly.
people cannot do that, and so that's why it's so hard to win a golf tournament. And when you do it, no matter on what stage it is, bringing it back to Rory, there's some bit of letdown that I got over the peak, I've crested, and the way that Rory won last week, kind of coming down to the final hole, playing well down the stretch, like there's
Yep.
some bit of relief that you get from that, and you're not at peak. It's kind of like like leading up to the moment with your gal. You're like, okay, we've been flirting all day, and then wow, it happens and it's over and you kind of let down. And
Right.
it's hard to then go forward. I don't know, man. I love Rory to death. We both love him. But dude, it's just like another year without a major. We go on
All
to
right, man.
2024 and we're still waiting on him to get a major. So I don't know, man. What do you think?
It'll be 10
What's the
years.
forecast? 10 years,
Next
bro.
year it'll be 10 years since he won his last major, which was at Royal Liverpool. I mean, I he better get it in the next 5 before he hits his mid-30s. I don't know. Because by that point, I don't know if his mental will be there anymore. Again, like I told you, like we've talked about before, I think with him having a kid, gave him a little brief, gave him a little peace. But now with her growing older, then start getting into her own endeavors and him trying to be a present parent, he might not
Yeah.
even care about golf that much anymore. So I think he needs to go ahead and get it in this little window he has left of prime Rory, best driver that has ever lived, Rory, and try to eat from there. Because I don't know what happens after that little 5 years. I really don't. I really don't. And that's sad because just like you said, like just a pure Rory lover, pause, but like that's my guy. Like I just you know but yeah, I just wish it was a little bit better for him consistently wise, you know. I mean, he comes out of nowhere and it's like, dang, maybe Rory Surgeon. Then he does the same thing. Sunday
Yeah.
came out under par. Saturday came out under par. What does he do? 8 straight pars and then like birdie's the last. I'm like, okay, yeah, he finished strong. Yeah, after like 12 straight pars. Like, okay, come on,
I
bro.
know. I know. I feel
Come
like
on,
he
bro.
gets on cruise control, right? I feel like his
Right.
game is just so good that he just was like, okay, I don't know if it's like he expects, but I don't know. I really don't
No,
know.
I agree. I
Um,
think so.
and it's like he just puts it on like, okay, I'm hitting greens, I'm in the middle of the green, but he's not making putts, and I don't know, man. It is super frustrating. Um,
Once
to
again.
see him struggle. But I mean, when you think about his season, third in FedEx points, and
Leading
you
the
know,
DP World Tour.
right, without playing, I'm sure that part of that is the majors, of course, but he
Right.
doesn't play that many events, and winning the Scottish Open last week, of course, goes a long way. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man, dude's like dominating in every place but the majors, and that's honestly all we care about. At the end of the day, that is really what matters. It's what's
Yep.
got John Rahm at the top of the FedEx standings. Um, I feel like John Rahm is kind of, I don't know. I feel like he's going to take Rory's spot in terms of like just that guy. Um,
Yeah.
and Rory, like you said, he's got about a 5-year window to get it together and really capitalize off his physical talent. Not that we just
Yep.
expect him to fall off a cliff at any point in time. He's never had any really major injuries or whatnot. So there's still so much potential available, but something has to change. I know earlier in the year we talked heavily about him being involved in the PGA and Live talks and just all the stuff that's gone on in the background around that.
Yep.
He's got his own, the TGL league going on in the background. Just so many. He's juggling a bunch of things that aren't on
Truly.
course golf. So, man, like I said, shout out to Brian Harman. I mean, like it made it completely boring. I was watching it on the road today, and it really, I just peek at it every once in a while, sees that lead kept getting extended, but there really wasn't
Mm-hmm.
much to it. All the talk was about the weather. That's all Paul Azinger could talk about this morning. So kind of,
Always.
kind of, kind of, boring way to end the major season, and we head down to the
Yeah.
FedEx Cup again. Rom's got a pretty decent lead, and then the Ryder Cup, and then the season's over, man. I mean, the LPGA's got some majors to go. They still have pretty impactful golf to play, but
Yeah, the
um,
Evian's like in 2 weeks. It's not next week, but the week after, I'm pretty sure. It's coming up
yeah,
very quick.
yeah.
Yeah, Paul Azinger, he old, so he really, he getting on those repetitive statements and stuff, man. And I think
I know.
I just thinking about it. Go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. I guess I'll come back.
Because I was just thinking about it though, as we was talking about Brian Harman, like not even having to worry about it. Like I felt like anytime that I was watching live coverage, he would make a mistake or make a bogey or something like that, or come back to the field. Why did it feel like he made 2 birdies like the next 3 holes? Like it was just like you thought, buddy. Like I felt like
Yeah,
every time he got that birdie right back. It was
he was
insane.
locked
Like
in.
it was
He was
never a
locked
play.
in.
Truly.
And just because he's never been in that position, I mean, we've never seen Brian Harman compete at the top of a major
Right.
leaderboard. You just expected, like, okay, man, this dude's playing out of his mind for 3 straight days. Day one, you can pretty much not you can't you can't win the tournament day one, but you can definitely lose
But
it,
you can
right? So
lose
he
it.
was just in
Right.
there, and day two, three, and four, bro, nobody could touch him. I mean, like you said earlier, Rom put on a charge. I was expecting somebody to just kind of, Sepp Straka ended up, getting up there as well, but the gap just never really felt questionable. And like you said, he would
At
rally
all.
back. He'd make some birdies. If it looked unflappable. I don't know. I feel like the one thing that Azinger kept mentioning was the mental side of the game for Harman, that he's had his mind wandered. I'm sure he has some insight behind the
Yeah.
scenes on that. But whatever he did to focus in and get his mind right and keep himself focused, he did a superb job of that. But week
Definitely.
to week, you just don't see Brian Harman up there. I mean, again, this came out of nowhere.
Truly.
Anyone that put money on Brian Harman, bro, they got paid. They are
I mean, his
in,
odds were
well,
like something like 1,600 to 1 or something like that. It was something like it was something unrationably wild for it for the numbers. And he was like, "Oh,
yeah.
well, I'm gonna make it." It was like, "Oh, I didn't think so, but guess you did, Mr. Harmon."
Yeah. But like I said, I mean, kudos to him. You cannot take it away from him. He will forever be a major tournament winner until his
Facts.
dying day. We just hope that, I mean, I don't know, man. This whole year has been a year of first time winners, first time major winners, and guys just kind of cresting and hitting a peak that we haven't seen. I was glad to see that Wyndham Clark, competed deep into the tournament as well, and he didn't see a big fall
Right.
off. We want to see these guys sustain, and see the next level of guys that are coming through.
One trick ponies are not fun anymore. We would prefer to see sustainability. We want to see a group of elite players that's like, oh, which one of these six, seven players is it going to be that's going to be competing to win? Like when Prime JT, Prime Spieth, Prime,
Mhm.
like even like you think about guys like Jason Day, even their guys was in the mix 2015, 2016, 2017. It was a conglomerate. It wasn't just one guy. It was multiple guys that were out there, and it was like, oh well, if JT's not competing, then Spieth is going to compete. And if Spieth is competing,
Yeah,
you know JT don't want to be outdone, so he might compete the same week or come right back the
right,
next week. I mean,
right.
it was crazy.
And we've seen a bit of that, right? So we know top of the game right now, John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler,
Yep,
despite not having the majors, Rory McIlroy is still up there.
yep.
We were talking pre-show about JT falling off and missing the
Mm,
cut this week, which was super disappointing. And we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, honestly, on the show that
right,
he just hadn't looked like himself and missing cuts
right.
at majors. I don't know, man. I feel like Max Homa is right there. Like I love Max Homa's game, um, but it doesn't always travel. Like Max Homa plays incredibly well on the west coast of the U.S., kind of Midwest
Right.
area, but when it gets to the Florida swing, Max is not always that great. Um, and so I feel like he's got that next. But we know what the top tier is, and then there's the kind of B to tier that is really really good, and like it would take a couple of major wins to push them over the top and just kind of
Yep.
get them to where they're in our consciousness week to week. But I feel like also that there's this young crop of golfers coming up that like the window is short, man. I feel like there's
Really
these
is.
young cats are like crazy good early. So we will mention it just for the sake of mentioning. So Akshay Bhatia won his first, tournament. The Barracuda. kudos to him, right? So, or is that a second or first? Whatever.
First on the PGA, second on
Right,
the
right.
second overall, like in pro, but like first on the PGA tour for sure.
Yeah, he's been close, right? He's been
Yep.
sniffing, at some of these B tier events, kind of the
Right.
secondary events. He's
Secondary
been
events.
around the leads. Yeah, and so he got over the hump today. I feel like dude has the game, right? He's got
Yep.
that swagger about him and confident and just doesn't know what he doesn't know and is not afraid of anything. Over on the Corn Ferry Tour, I throw this in the show notes a little late, but the Cootie brothers, they're twins. They were
They're
like
coming.
first and tied for second over on the Corn Ferry. One shooting 25 under to win, the other shooting
Yep.
23 under for tied for second. Like bananas numbers, man. And I just feel like the young talent is. I mean, these young 30 somethings in the on the PGA Tour, late 20s. If you don't get your rocks off and start winning some tournaments, winning majors,
Yeah.
you might miss out. I just feel like that
Truly.
window is tighter than ever.
Yeah.
You said we want to see we want to see dominance, but honestly, man, I feel like more parity is coming, where we're gonna continue to
Yeah.
see
I
first
want to
time
see.
winners. Say that you
No,
said
I
you want to
agree.
see what?
I mean, I want to see that too. I want to see a conglomerate of guys do that. But it's just like, well, I mean, I've said it before. These young guys now, they're so ballsy, bro. They do not care because they know that they're gonna have more holes to make up those numbers. They're like, I'm firing at that flag. What is it gonna hurt me? I mean, all I do is I'm gonna hit a super flop. I mean, I've played all of these different roughs now, and then all of a sudden, you see these guys on the tour, and they've had a second and a third time to play these events on these courses. Then what's going to happen? They're just going to go headhunting even more. So it's really
Yeah,
just a matter of, I mean, it's like when Tiger got on the scene and he was young, and what was his face? The hater that's an announcer still. I don't know why his name is
I know you're talking
uh
about Curtis Strange.
Yeah, so he was telling Tiger he's gonna learn. I mean, these young guys now, they saying, no, you gonna learn. We going
No,
for
you
all
gonna learn.
flags. Right. We're
Exactly.
pulling driver. You said 340, I'm pulling driver. I'm getting as close as I can. Then I'm pulling out my
Right.
62 or my 60, and we're zipping it close. Like, what are we talking about? I'm going for the flag. That's how these guys are.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't
Earlier in the
matter.
week, speaking of that, I can't even remember the player, but it was like round one. But the announcers were like, I don't know if driver is the play here. Driver puts a lot of stuff in in play, right?
They
And
don't
so
care.
dude blasts, I don't know remember who it was, but it was one of these young cats, puts it in the middle of the fairway, and the announcers just have to shut up and he's like, I guess there's no bunkers in the middle of the fairway. I was
You
like, yeah,
know?
man. Like these dudes are unafraid, and it's just also like playing in a link style course. I feel like the score was respectable.
Right. I felt
Easy
like that was some
scoring
good
on
scores.
Monday. Yeah, good. Easy scoring on Monday, or excuse me, not Monday, Thursday, Friday. Accessible. The course had a lot of rain. It was green versus when it was super brown a few years ago, or the last time they played it. Um, and so, of course, we got a little more rain on Saturday, softened up the course. The scores were low, and then today,
Yep.
super sloppy. But I thought the course held them in check. I really love the way that link style courses are designed. Are some
Agreed.
of them probably getting past, the modern game or getting passed by the modern game? Yeah. But when I see it, like them miss on the wrong side of the hole, and you see that ball kind of trace around the bunker and then come behind it and then fall in the back of the bunker, like I don't know, I get a
Yeah.
kick out of that. I loved watching that the design elements every year. It feels completely different from what we see week to week. Even with the time change,
Truly.
of course, the scoreboards look different with the yellow on the scoreboard. All the things about the Open are so very different than the Parkland golf that we see week to week,
Agreed.
PGA Tour. I enjoy the change up. How do you feel about the design and kind of what it brings to the table?
Yeah, I mean, I love links a link style course. I mean, you know me, the wind really. I play in that all the time out here on my course. So, I try not to let it affect me. I go a club up, club down, and you just got to fight with it. It's no problem to me. So, I actually love the conditions of link style courses, and with no cover, you really got to dot your I's. And of course, once you hit the ball solid, all of that stuff goes out of the window. Like these guys are hitting the ball solid. So when you're hitting errant shots, yeah, it's going to punish you. But when you're on your game, like the Brian Harmons and stuff like that, fairways are all you're going to see, anyways. I get in a
Yeah,
bunker, okay, I hit out of the bunker, I take my medicine, and then I go make a par the hard way. Or, I make a
you
bogey
bogey
and
and get it
escape
back.
and get it out of there. Like it's okay. Like that's the best part to me about it, and I feel like it's withstood the test of time. Like despite what's happening as far as distance and like everybody getting stronger and stuff like that, I still feel like courses like St. Andrews will always never really need much in a innovation or renovation because at the end of the day, you're still gonna have to either if you're strong enough you're going to have to make those longer carries. Or if you're not going to play that game, pull the iron out like these guys do and hit the stinger. Everybody that's a
Yeah,
pro knows how to hit that little cool stinger or hit just like a 5 iron to the end of the fairway. Like, you adjust, you live and you learn, you let the setup go with what you have, and you play to your strengths from there. Like it's what we
yeah,
were talking about with the with the ball composition, anyways. It doesn't need to be changed because course conditions can allow or disallow the scores that you want. Again, they
yeah.
grew up the rough. They had the fescue plan. So if you get turned in there, then and you're not strong enough to get it out with a solid strike, then what are you going to do? You're going to take your
Right. And
medicine, or
And
you're
you
going to get
saw him pulling
penalized.
quite. You saw them pull quite a few shots from that rough into these bunkers around the greens. I enjoyed it, and I agree. The course
Thank
design
you.
can defend against any increases in technology. You can counter that with the design. I don't feel like they had to push. There weren't some crazy like 500-yard par fours. I mean, you're seeing
Precisely.
470 yards. It was clearly Brian Harman was the anomaly this week. But when you look
Yeah,
at everybody else, you had several tied at 7 under, respectable scoring, and held in check by the weather, by the conditions. You saw 4 different seasons,
you
over
really
there this
did.
week. And so, I mean, it was able to have some teeth. And yeah, does every week set up like that? No. Last year when they were at St. Andrews, did it get scored on? 100%. The weather didn't allow, any kind of defense. It sets up like
Right.
that sometimes where you're just going to have some higher scores. I know they even had some controversy around the raking of the bunkers or whatnot, whatever. One other thing that I wanted to bring up and just see where you stood on this is the internal out of bounds on number 18 jumped
Mm,
up. It was kind of on the right side of the fairway. He was usually getting people on their approaches. I think Ricky Fowler 2 approaches into the eternal OB. Several drives that I got that. I think Terrell Haddon drove it twice into the internal OB. Ended up with several 8s and 9s on that hole. What are your thoughts on internal OB? Should there be clear marking? And not clear markings. It was clearly marked, but
yeah.
is that fair, right? I mean, I think it plays as like a range for when it's a member play, but was
Hmm.
more kind of media and hospitality tense this week. What do you think about that crap? Should that, if the ball is in play and you can get a club on it and it's technically on the course, should that be out of bounds?
Well, as a course that has internal OB on the Highlands, I do not see a problem with it because when you get into link style courses like that, you need some type of buffer between hitting constantly from different holes and different angles and things like that. So I don't really mind it. I didn't think it was that bad an idea. I do feel like it was a little bit crazy because they had all the extensions up. So it's kind of like a why are we not playing this as a free relief and then they just getting screwed on the drop or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like,
I
you
feel
know,
like they could have
Highlands is
extended it further,
yeah,
further right,
yeah.
because there was a barrier fence up, and then maybe to me that should have been the OB, but the OB
Hmm.
was probably 10 feet ahead. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So I wasn't really unopposed to it. I mean, but I could see the beef in it. But like I said, the only other thing that I would say to counteract that would be just to play it as temporary and movable um, structure, and then just play it
mhm,
with like a bad drop or something like that, because you're not going to get rewarded for hitting into the stands where the people are. I don't think you should
yeah,
get that much out of it. But I don't think
yeah,
you should also card a nine like Terrell Hatton did, because he went right, then far left, and the far left has just as much concessions, and you're
yeah,
just taking your relief from there. Like Max Homa took
right.
relief from far left. What what was the difference? They were
Yeah,
the
it almost
same
didn't make
type setup.
sense.
Right.
Yeah,
So that point I for sure agree, because it's like I completely didn't understand the difference in the two. If you're gonna play OB, I think you should have played it both ways. But again, I'm
it
not
almost
that much.
favors people who it favors righties that
Draw
hit
the
a draw,
ball.
right? That's
Yep.
just I don't know,
Hmm.
man. That to me, I feel like that's kind of crappy to set it up that way. But I mean, it
Agreed.
is one of
No,
the
agreed.
nuances of link style golf that I guess that's also why they have to go over there the week prior and get a little bit of prep in, just because it is a different type of setup. We're
Yeah.
used to seeing a lot more seeing water on the course and hazards in that way. And so I get it, like bunkers that are you can typically play out of or towards the hole. Like I said, I love seeing them having to play completely away from the hole or backwards into the fairway. I loved seeing that
Same.
aspect of it. So again, the nuance is very different, and that's why I think it's a treat. Um, and it's crazy that how fast these last 4 months have gone by with the majors. I
Truly.
remember, talking in May and saying, "Okay, there's so much year left," and then here we are. Right? It's just like it
We got
smacked
two
us
events left.
nuts, man. It's super nuts. So overall, I mean, I was also kind of reflecting on, we've touched on this, and there's really not much to add to it. We don't even know what 2024 season is going to look like, right? Nothing's been resolved with
Right.
the PGA Live shit. It's just an ongoing kerfuffle of nothingness. Like we've got no news.
Right.
Maybe in the next couple of weeks we hear something, some developments, whatever the case. We went through the Senate hearings a week ago or whatnot, and no, nothing really developed from that. We just found out there was a bunch of talks to have more talks. And so,
Right.
next year is completely up in the air. Who's going to be allowed to play in the Ryder Cup is still kind of up in the air. Will some of the live guys be allowed to play and get,
Who's going to be
captain's
allowed in the
picks?
President's Cups?
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. It's just it's crazy. I feel like golf outside of like prime Tiger hitting the scene and dominating, that there's been more golf news than ever. Like I feel like this
Yep.
this last couple of years, more excitement has been around golf. More people are coming, or maybe not clearly during the pandemic. People started playing golf more actively, right? Um, but I feel like there's been more attention on golf. And then there's also the separation between just amateurs who play the game for enjoyment and then, the professional side of things. And that they're
Yep.
completely different. Like you can enjoy each of them separately without engaging in the other. It's kind of crazy. Like I remember watching golf
Hmm.
before I actually picked up the sticks. And then, I could honestly at certain points not give a damn about professional golf because I just like we
Right.
like playing so much, right? So it's so
Hmm.
interesting with golf and kind of the differences between that and let's say a major sport like football. Dudes aren't playing football in their 40s,
No.
because it's just too dangerous. You're gonna rupture your Achilles, tear your knee up, whatever, right? But golf
Right.
is like
Hmm.
its own thing. I don't know, man. It's so crazy how that works and how they can be completely separate and not have to deal with each other at all.
Completely agreed.
So, let's see here. Anything? Let's just talk about people who missed the cut and just go through that list. So notables, we talked about Justin Thomas already
Yeah.
missing the cut. Keegan Bradley, which he's got a doppelganger on the DP World Tour. It's like Anton. He was even wearing the J's like Keegan Bradley. I'm gonna have to look his name up. Colin Morikawa, Yako Neiman, Billy Horschel, Tony Finau, which I'm surprised by Tony Finau missing the cut. Justin Rose, Phil Mickelson by a long shot, and Dustin Johnson, also big names missing the cut. Brooks Koepka was kind of ho hum, just hanging in there, not really competing like his normal self. So those were, it was a weird leaderboard this year in the Open, which I guess Links Golf can produce that.
Yeah. I really feel like besides JT, I wasn't really that disappointed in who missed the cut. I mean, Tony Finau, I mean, I don't know. I feel like his game isn't always that electric. So sometimes he's going to not play up to the par. DJ, however, really just disappointed. Thought he would come to play. I mean, he has one of the most powerful fades in the game. Always can hit
Yeah.
it. So for him to lay it shit to bed is really kind of funny. I mean, especially since he shot a reasonable 3 over number the first day, and then Friday is just like he didn't really give a crap in the world. I mean, literally shot 81 or whatever, 10 over, 11 over, something like that.
Like, bro.
Phil, I mean, you never know with Phil. It's just, you just,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
F Phil. I don't know. Like, I'm not a Phil fan. So,
yeah,
um,
yeah. Go ahead, Phil. Do your thing, bro. I guess. I don't know.
what, what else? What else do we got to talk about from this week? I mean, we talked about LPGA was kind of like ho hum
Congrats
with
to
their
whoever
team.
won the LPGA event.
Okay. No, I had to look it up. So I can't remember her partner's name, but Cheyenne Knight is like also like at the top of leaderboards. It seems like
That's
every
true.
week on the LPGA tour.
That's true.
So shout out to Cheyenne Knight for coming on strong this year. Again, I'm really looking forward to seeing that tour develop now that they're getting play as well on some major stages, some great venues that they've been playing. So, if the
Yeah.
PGA Tour lets us down, we're going all in on the LPGA Tour. There's some really great golf
Facts.
being played over there. There's some new names being made on the LPGA Tour as well.
You're right.
The youngins, Rosang, Allison Corpus, who do we talk? The young lady from Sweden that we talked about last week. Her
Lynn
name
Grant,
is
for sure.
Lynn Grant. Is a baller. So if the PGA and Live Tour just can't get their stuff together, the LPGA is definitely holding up the mantle. As long as they can get their stuff together. One other
For
random thing that
sure.
I mentioned when we were talking about Paul Azinger. So caught a tweet earlier
Mm.
from the No Laying Up Boys on Twitter. Shout out to them. I'm not a super fan. I do casually catch some of their stuff, but their whole thing is about the coverage and NBC showing too many commercials. And you just read through the comments, and it's a bunch of people that jump on that same bandwagon. I don't know. To me personally, I think the commentating is trash, right? Paul Azinger is not my
Yeah.
favorite. He catches a couple stories that he latches onto and talking points and goes with them the entire week or the entire day. He'll have a theme, and it's like, bro, shut up, my guy.
Yeah. He's an old
But
senile man.
but I'm just like when they complain about ads being shown or they're going to commercial again. I'm like, how they think these bills are gonna get paid? I'm
Yeah.
maybe maybe I'm too lenient or something, but I don't expect money to just make itself, right? And they even
No,
complain
you're
about
right.
the playing through, which, like, if as long as the crap's on the screen and we know we don't like the commentators, who cares if they're
Right.
quiet and they're playing an ad on the other half of the screen? I don't know, man. Maybe
Agreed.
I'm missing something there. If you're watching right now, I
You're
mean, I
not.
don't know, man. I'm kind of lost on that.
I feel like once I found out about Noah laying up, they were cool to start again, just like you, same rapport. I'm like, okay, cool. Like they, every now and again they got something to say, but when they were harping on that every tournament, it's like, bro, at one point you're gonna have to get over it, and especially in a major, like, bruh, unless you want these guys to rip out multiple millions to get this to get cut off and them to have limited commercials like in a movie, like you would see on XF or some or FX or whatever, then be quiet, bro. Like, what are you
And I
talking about,
and
bro?
I
It's just like what you said. Bills got to get paid.
And I get it. Like they'll have certain tournaments that'll have the primary sponsor, right? So we see that in the Masters all the time,
Yeah.
and that makes sense. But it's just like it makes absolutely no sense that there's got to be some ads rolling. Like I said, if they have a primary sponsor and then they throw it in, hey, the last 30 minutes of coverage is sponsored by Rolex. Perfect,
Right.
right? And they just keep mentioning that over and over. Roll the Rolex banner across the top. All good. American Express, whatever
Please.
that person is that steps up or company that steps up. Cool. But it's a necessary evil, unless the Saudis are going to pay for all coverage going forward. So comment
Right.
here. TV split screens should be used for ads and live
Thank you.
coverage.
For
It's
sure.
just yeah, it's just part of it, man. And so I think also we touched on this a couple of weeks ago, the evolution of TV, like we were talking about ESPN and the layoffs and how media is changing overall. And so,
Right.
like probably during the World Cup, we'll see it, or the Women's World Cup. YouTube TV has done a really good job of starting the pilot like split screen stuff. And they're not letting you pick it out individually, but like NCAA
Yep.
tournament was a great example where they had the four screens playing. You could do the multi view or split between channels, of course, but you got the
Yep.
option of seeing the multi screen. And I think that's just where things are going to be going, right? And so
Yeah.
integrating ads into that and companies adapting to how people are now viewing television is a game changer, right? I mean, we all have to
Agreed.
learn to evolve within the constraints of where things are. Like it shit is not going to be the same forever. And
Agreed.
so I'm
Agreed.
like
You got to
so
be able to
tired of
adapt.
yeah, man, I'm so tired of the get off my lawn crowd with like things have to evolve and change
Hmm.
and we can all look back upon every walk of life where something has changed and at the time people were like, oh, this is the worst thing ever, what's going on, and then you look at it today and you're like, it's the norm. It is
Yep.
the background behind it makes sense, or this is where things were going. So I don't know, again, the whole no ads during the major, they were bitching about coming out of an ad when Harman was walking up to the first tee. I was like, middle fingers, shut up with this talking point already. So
Yeah, man.
anyway,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to get on my soapbox with that shit. It just aggravated me, and I don't know. Maybe
No, for sure.
maybe Twitter is not where I should be. Shout out to what is it? Threads. What's the new
I
crap
love.
with
Ew. Ew. Stop.
I don't know. I wish all maybe I wish like all media like that would kind of die. I don't know. Maybe I'm that's my old man in me. Like I hate Twitter right now. It's a cesspool. I hadn't really even got on the new thing. I posted like one thing there.
I've not
So
posted.
yeah, I just did something just to do it, and I was like, maybe I can be an early adopter. Who knows? But anyway, things are gonna keep changing, man. We got to move with the cheese. One of my favorite little short books, "Move with the Cheese." Or you become
Amen.
extinct. So golf is in that state of change right now, and I know some of it is uncomfortable for us. We've hated Live, we've rallied against Live, and I still think it's a BS entity, but it is creating change within the game of golf. It's
Right.
putting more exposure on it, and so if it more attention and eyes come to the game that we love, I'm all for it. So,
Truly.
anything you
Truly.
want to wrap up with and add some additional color to?
No, I'm good this week. No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right,
I don't even
all
have
right.
anything funny to say.
Shout out to the premium background again, Marcus hanging
Facts.
in
Pro
the
shop
shop.
poppy. Pro
I
shop
like it.
poppy.
I like it. So, all right, that's it for the week. Signing off, Bitter Bros Golf Show, live show every single week, depending on when the tournament ends. It might be 7, it might
Yes,
be 8
sir.
Central Standard Time, but we're here every single week. I'm Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
Peace out.